Hello and welcome to Basecamp, a climbing magazine podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Riley. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad you did because we got a great episode for you. It features an interview with one of my favorite pro climbers out there, Rob Pizem, also known as The Piz. Rob recently wrote an article for Climbing Magazine. It's in the October-November issue, which is on newsstands now. And it's all about Unoweep, a climbing destination just south of Grand Junction, Colorado, with sweeping granite walls for miles, but an area that doesn't get a whole lot of traffic. And I was really interested in reading the article and sitting down with Rob for that reason exactly, because you really just don't hear a whole lot about Unaweep. But in the article, Rob goes into the history, some of the early development, some of the later development, and some of the style of Unaweep, which was quite fascinating because the area is quite good and probably deserves a lot more traffic than it gets. Yeah, so I sat down, I talked to Rob, we talked about what it's like being a climber in Grand Junction. You know, is it a good climbing city? Talked about first ascent potential at Unoweep, which it sounds like there's quite a bit. We talked about some of the training he does to practice for the Unoweep style. And we just talked about what's going on in Rob's life these days. He's a great guy. If you ever met him, you know he's super genuine, super nice, really knowledgeable, very detail-oriented. I really enjoyed talking with him, and I think you will enjoy as well. So without further ado, let's talk with Rob. But first, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Mystery Ranch, based in Bozeman, Montana. Mystery Ranch builds the best load-bearing equipment in the world for men and women with a job to do. Made with the best materials available and the most durable construction methods that exist to support your mission, whether it's on the front line, the fire line, the cleanest line, or the steepest line. At the last International Climbers Festival, I connected with Becky Switzer, Mystery Ranch ambassador. Got to ask her what she loves about Mystery Ranch and its products. So Becky, how's your International Climbers Festival going?
Oh, it's great. It's always inspiring to see all the folks who travel across the country to come to Wyoming.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful here in City Park, just hanging out by the river and all the camping. It's really a special place.
Yeah, Lander is really the perfect place for this event.
How did you get connected with Mystery Ranch?
So I've known people in their crew for over a decade. I started out with a ski pack of theirs and have always been impressed with the quality, the construction, the durability. It's just a great company because it matches with my activities, climbing being the primary one, but also skiing and ice climbing.
Yeah, and what do you love about the packs?
They carry a lot of weight very easily, especially with the new Tower 47 coming out, the cragging pack. It can take a ton of weight and it can feel really good on your back. And one of the neat things about Mystery Ranch is that it's really customizable. So being a shorter female with a short torso, this pack fits me great. If I'm carrying an 80-meter rope and 20 draws, it's totally manageable.
Fall 2019 marks Mystery Ranch's debut back in the technical climbing packs with the launch of the new Scepter series, specifically designed for ice climbers. Then in spring 2020, Mystery Ranch welcomes 3 more rock-specific packs into the collection, including the Tower 47. Learn more at mysteryranch.com. Mystery Ranch, built for the mission. How are things going with you these days? How's Grand Junction?
Living the dream. Look at that. 2-bedroom, 2-bath. 1,500 square foot of beauty.
Have you been in this place for a while?
I moved in one day before Rowan was born.
Oh, wow.
So he's 8.
Oh, wow.
8 and 2 months. Or sorry, 8 plus 2 months. So.
Uh-huh. And how did you end up in Grand Junction? Are you from Colorado?
I'm from Cleveland.
You're from Cleveland, Ohio. You're a Midwest boy like me. I'm from Detroit.
Yeah, Rock City.
Oh, my goodness. So how did you end up here?
The story. I'm assuming we're live.
We are live now.
We are live now. Yeah. So when I finished high school, I went to my first year of college in Pennsylvania. And I had a lot of fun. It was
Where in Pennsylvania?
Allegheny College, Meadville.
Okay. Yeah. I went to Mercyhurst for one year, and then left.
Nine Inch
quickly.
Nails used to come and play in the basement of the frat
Rusted
houses.
Root used to always
Rusted
come.
Root would come. It was rad.
I loved Rusted Root. On my way. On my way.
Yeah. So I played hockey there and ran the outdoor club, and I was like, this is really fun, but I'm not getting anything out of college. For me, the liberal arts school was a waste of time. So I transferred to School of Mines, and I was like, okay, this is what college is supposed to feel like. So it was super hard. I moved to Golden. I got my engineering degree, worked as an engineer, went on the road for so I worked for 2 years, and I was like, at the end of 2 years, I'm quitting and living in my car. So then I went. And
so you got into climbing then in college over at School of
I
Mines?
started, I went once the summer of my senior year. My brother had, someone introduced him, and he's like, you should come and check this out. And I went, and I was like, wow, this is fun.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's just how it started.
Sweet. So selfishly, I want to ask about living here in Grand Junction, because it seems like maybe one of the last towns to move to that's actually affordable and has a lot of climbing around it. It seems like every single climbing destination has just skyrocketed in living costs.
Yeah, like Flagstaff, super expensive.
Totally.
Moab's expensive. I think Vegas is reasonable, but Vegas is a legit city.
Salt Lake's getting expensive.
Salt Lake's expensive. Oh, it got expensive.
It
Obviously,
is already?
Denver's expensive
Yeah,
anywhere in the front
it's off
range.
the charts. So I
Yeah,
talked to
most
Matt
of
because
them.
I was talking to Salmon about it, because I'm looking at buying a place, and the Front Range is so hard. So I was like, hey, Matt, I'm thinking about Grand Junction. What do you think? And he's like, well, if you can withstand the heat, if you don't mind the summer, then it's perfect. But the summers suck.
Here's the deal. I climb on the quarry wall all summer long. And I can climb hard routes.
Yeah.
It's not. You can go up on the mesa. 40 minutes, you can be at 10,000 feet, and there's a ton of routes and there's a ton of routes to be bolted and or just cracks to be cleaned on the volcanic rock up there.
Yeah.
And it's sick. There's mountain biking, camping, climbing, and mountain lakes to go fishing at.
Yeah.
Trail running. What more do you want? And no one here.
It seems incredible.
It's a great place to be. We've got the Unoweep south facing stuff is blistering hot. Don't even think about it. But late
Sure.
afternoon, actually, there's enough nooks and corners where you can go climbing if you want to go get on the granite. You're an hour from the black. We have a couple. I mean, you have all the Unoweep bouldering, and you can pick and scratch at shady spots. And then there's a few other kind of random walls around. There's tons of hiking. You've got this. You have access to the San Juans. It's 100 miles from my house to Uray, because I've done and worked the Uray Ice Fest so many years. So it's 100 miles is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You can be in the San Juans in an hour and a half from living here. You're driving 4.5 from Denver, or 3.5, 4 or 5 even.
Yeah.
It's right here. So you have access to what I consider unaccessible on a regular basis when you're living on the Front Range, and here it's an hour and a half away. It's a great place to be, and the summers aren't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, are they warm? It's not Vegas warm. Vegas is terrible in the summer.
Yeah.
Junction, it's tolerable.
Yeah.
And it's not even like a hard tolerable, because the access to the mountains is so close.
All right. Well, I'll keep it on the list.
Sure. Yeah. I say that, and I will say that many a Front Ranger have moved here already. We do have a full-service gym, 10 or 12,000 square feet. We got, I think, close to 50-foot wall. Obviously, decent training, since I like to train there. And you don't have to deal with 50 people waiting in line to climb at the gym. I went back to the Front Range for a work trip a couple weekends ago, and I went to Ubergrippen, which was a beautiful facility, and I was like, I don't want to climb here.
It's unbelievable because they're popping up so quickly, and they're immediately packed.
It was
From
fully
day
packed.
one,
Like,
day
I'm trying to
one.
do laps and train, and I'm bumping shoulders, and I'd be like, can you guys open at 4 a.m. for me? That's what I would ask when no one would be there, because I don't want to be there when anyone's there. And you can go to our gym at any time and have a nice training session or do routes, whatever.
So we're going to be talking about your article about Unaweep. How far is Unaweep from here?
Totally, probably 30 minutes.
Yeah.
As the crow flies, it's literally behind my house, probably 10 miles.
Okay. And that's kind of the local crag, would you say? Is there stuff closer, or is that
Local crag is Rifle for most people,
Wow.
which is 50 minutes.
Okay.
An hour. Yeah, in an hour max. Most people don't climb in Unoweep, unfortunately. Or fortunately, however you like to look at it.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because it's not a style that people are used to. And when people aren't climbing what they're used to, they're climbing way below their pay grade. and everybody's ego can't handle it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's having.
If your ego wants to feel fluff,
Yeah.
go to the gym and go to rifle, because the grades are easy. Come and climb 512 out here, and you're gonna not do it.
Okay. Well, I want to talk to you about that in a
And
minute.
it's not that we're inflating. Trust me. It's just
Yeah.
a different style, and you have to learn how to do it.
Okay, so you wrote this article, "The Canyon with Two Mouths," which is the kind of like a name for Unoweep given to him by the
Native Americans.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest historian. I did the
It was
research.
the Utes, right?
Yeah, the Utes. Yeah, Utes.
So why did you write this article?
Why?
Yeah.
Because Matt let me.
Did you come to him with the article idea, or did he reach out to you?
Well, I had read the last ones. They did the one on Eldo about kind of the second coming, or the, you know what I mean? How it was re-giving life. And they did the history over in Salt Lake. And I said, you know what? This is the first Access Fund purchase. The walls over here. And there's rad climbing out here. And I've climbed all over the place. You know, if you want to go climb tufas, obviously you're going to go to a tufa place.
Yeah.
But this is super technical, super inobvious, super, even if, you know, it can be super heady. And you've got to learn a whole new style. And almost all the routes you've got to relearn how to climb. So it's awesome. Like, I don't get bored climbing there.
Do you find when you kind of get in that flow of that style, you can start ticking off routes way easier? I mean, I feel like it's kind of like that at Shelf, right? Like if you're pocket pulling, if you haven't done it in a while, it's hard at first, but then once you get it, you can take down all of the routes at that grade.
Sure.
Is it like is it similar to that?
Kind of. I mean, in the article, I think I described the open-handed sloping side pull. There's many seams that you're going to lay back, and you've got to learn how to lay back without any feet and really a bad hold. A bad hold that doesn't feel like you can stay on it. The crimpy roots are super thin, and the slabby roots are super slabby and blank, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
You just feel insecure a lot. Clips feel insecure. Putting gear in feels insecure. So yeah, you can't go into a route kind of half-assing it. Otherwise, you're just going to hang at the end of the rope and be frustrated.
You use this term unicreeping. Can you describe to me what that means?
The unicreep is, a lot of the walls have roots, or a lot of the roots have sequences where you kind of climb into a stance. And then you look ahead and you say, I don't want to try that because it feels so insecure.
Yeah.
Or, you just feel super insecure, whatever you're doing, whether it's a crimp, a lie back move, a high foot smear, whatever. So you just creep up into the next stance, and then you have that moment of truth come to your head. Well, I can't stand here forever, and I have to go again. So you're constantly just creeping up the wall rather than this kind of long flowing route, say like, a Clear Creek route or a rifle route, where you just kind of keep going, and it's not really changing too much along the way. You'll get these really weird, inobvious, balancy moves, presses and mantles, stems and gas stones for eons, and then you'll have to do this really weird move, and you'll be so pumped from doing the other move that the new one feels really challenging, in some cases impossible. So it's fun. It's just this slow progression, which... Again, it's a different style. You can go to Indian Creek and just slam hand jams or tight hands or fingers and just charge. Whereas here, there's very, very few routes that I can charge on. So when I have to climb, I've got to climb.
Yeah, pretty thoughtful.
Very thoughtful.
So you mentioned earlier that there's plenty of routes to be established there, but it seems like a lot of work, pretty arduous, a lot of time, cleaning. It's not very established. Why do you love it so much? I mean, it just seems like so much work.
Well, there's literally sections of wall where I haven't knocked a single thing off. So there's the one and done. Wrap it. I'll take people who've never bolted a route or who've never established a crack to this spot, and we'll go ahead and put roots up together. I'll teach them how. Let's take a look, figure it out, figure out the placements, figure out the stances, and super easy. And then there's the sections of the wall where you're like, I think that'll go, and then it ends up having some exfoliation that needs to be hammered off, or some flaky stone. And why do I like to do it? Because aesthetically, it's something that, in my eyes, it appears to be a really cool feature. And if it can be climbed, I'll figure out how to climb it. And if it takes, say, like right now it's fall. I don't know how many times I've bolted a route in the fall, never even got into try, or bolted or cleaned. Maybe it's a crack climb with 1 or 2 bolts and 100 foot of gear. Never even tried it. I'll try it in the spring. It'll be, wow, this is way harder than I thought. And then the temps will pass that perfect window in the spring, and then it'll be summer and a little hotter. So I don't even try it. And then the winter I'll try it again. Or sorry, right before winter, I'll try it again. And then maybe it comes in another year, and then it clocks in at something really difficult. But there's no pressure I don't feel the pressure to get anything done. So I get the easy ones done, and then I slowly train and come back and get the good ones. Or not the good ones, but the more difficult ones.
Well, speaking of that, do you do any specific training?
Oh, yeah.
For
my gosh.
The Unoweep style of climbing?
Oh, yes.
Well, tell me about it.
Lots of open-handed, body torquing systems wall moves. So I try to hold these really awkward positions and get my feet really high to where I can barely hold on and where I'm just falling off all the time. And what I do is I have to learn how to keep my body in position. The subtleties, like does my right ass cheek need to be clenched right now in order to maintain this body position?
Yeah.
It's those things. It's not so much, I just need to get a stronger upper body, because that's not going to cut it. There's plenty of super strong upper body people and super strong grip people that have very low success here. It's all about, engaging the low back at the right time, dropping your heel. I don't know if I mentioned that in the article, the heel drop.
No, I don't.
Slab climbing is all about the heel drop. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you put your toes on the hold, and when you try to stand up, the hold disappears. But if you drop your heel and redirect your energy and your force into the wall with a heel drop, you can stay on many, many things. It's kind of the trick of I don't even want to say the pros, but just of the well-versed. Like, it's something you won't even notice that someone does. They'll stand there and let go, and you'll raise your heel a millimeter, and then you're off. Whereas if you drop it, you can just stand there and let go. So there's little subtleties that allow success in Unoweep. And you also, like I said, you have to feel okay about feeling insecure on holds and just keep climbing, even though you're thinking, this next move I'm going to come off. And then when you get it, you're going to think, I'm going to readjust and I'm going to come off. And then you're going to try to make the next move, and you're feeling like you're going to come off if you try to overpower it upper body wise. So there's just lots of low torsion moves, lots of core moves, lots of leg, really just very specific pushing moves. So it'll look really easy when someone goes up and does it. And then when you try it, you're like, I can't even stand on this. How did you do this? It'll feel like another world. And that's why I love it.
Yeah. So in the article, you kind of mentioned that a lot of the obvious cracks and a lot of the routes have already been established. And so you've been kind of going in between, in where, it's maybe more slabby, blanker sections, more featured possibly. Is there still a lot of rock out there that hasn't been touched, or do you think it's been picked over pretty well?
It hasn't even been close.
Yeah.
I've been putting up routes for 10 years, and I'm not even close to done. Put it that way.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
But mostly on the harder side?
Well, if you're going to go ahead and put up an easier route, chances are it's going to be bolts or mixed bolts and gear. So you might have 2 cracks that continue up with a blank section in between, blank enough that it requires bolts.
Yeah.
So maybe there are probably face features. There's probably some kind of movement that'll connect them. So that's the type of route. As far as a pure crack, 5'11", even 5'11", mid 5'11", and lower, there's a really strong chance that Casey Baum already climbed it, and the rest of the crew. When I say Casey Baum, when he was climbing, there was probably 30 people that were picking away at routes, all of them kind of having the whole canyon to themselves. But he certainly was the most prolific. And I actually just got to meet him a couple weekends ago. He passed through. He's still one of the original AMGA guides. And he was just teaching in Denver for a couple weeks. And he came through, passed up from Arizona where he lives, and we had coffee in the morning and hung out. And
That's cool.
It was really awesome to just be like, because everyone told me he was really tall and that he had huge hands. And he really wasn't any taller than me. He might be 6'2" at most. And I was checking out his hands. I was like, oh man, how big are your hands compared to mine? And they were pretty close to mine. But he was just, the love he has for the canyon is so deep. It was just really the passion he had for it.
Yeah, I had no
awesome.
idea that he did so much development around here. I always think of him like Flagstaff, Desert Towers, stuff like that.
Well, he also developed, not only did he do at the minimum 100 probably routes in Unoweep, he developed most of the, again, 5'11" and under routes in Colorado National Monument.
Yeah.
He just, didn't stop. Super motivated. If he was feeling younger, he'd still be doing it right now.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the locals in the area at Unoweep. Are they pretty climber friendly? I mean, when I was there, I've only been there once.
So you
but
mean
there's
the people
houses,
that have houses on either side of the road?
Exactly.
So
all those farms
when
and
Casey
stuff.
put the original book out in whatever 1980 something, I think that the climbers had spoken to a lot of the landowners, and most of them were like, "Yeah, this is okay if you're just walking. Keep low profile," because there wasn't that many of them. There was a few. And today, properties change hands. Sometimes people move out there just to be alone, because it's a lonely highway, 141.
Yeah.
And
but a beautiful place, a great place to be alone. It is gorgeous up there.
And actually, there's probably, I would say, maybe close to a half dozen properties owned by climbers in the canyon, and they're friendly and encourage climbing, and even they're putting up routes. And then there's just the main ranch folks that essentially one or two of them own the whole canyon, and that's been their land, their generation before, the generation before that. And it's not that they're against climbing per se, but they definitely don't want you crossing their property. Most of the times, if you wander around, put it this way, if you park on the side of the road and you're going to go walk to a cliff line that looks incredible and it might be 30, 40 minutes away, your car on the side of the road will flag somebody driving. One of the locals will note that they'll call one of their neighbors who owns the property, and they'll come out and find you. And oftentimes they're worried about illegal hunting.
Okay.
And then the other half is, please don't cross my property line.
Yeah.
And so we respect that. Jesse Zacher, who I mentioned in the article, is extremely connected with the BLM and National Forest, and then lots of the landowners. He's certainly our greatest contact that keeps relationships positive. He's actually one of the guys, as a side note, who kept Cabin Wall open in Escalante when it was sold to the guy who owns most of the canyon in Escalante, because BLM just up and sold it without telling anybody. And then the access was literally closed there for a little while.
Jesse established the WCCC, correct?
Jesse was part of it, yeah. Jesse and Eve.
Okay, yep, the Western Colorado Climbers Coalition.
Yep.
So I'm mountain.
You can access the rock if you're not crossing private property, which just means sometimes it's a longer walk.
Yeah.
So the walls that I haven't gotten to yet just have a longer walk. I'm literally just picking the plums. Basically, roll your door open, walk 50 feet, and you can go climbing. I'm taking all those right now. And anyone else that wants to come out, certainly come and establish with me.
Cool.
I encourage it. But the ones with the farther walk, it's just, okay, I've got to start figuring out the approach, what's going to be the most efficient way, and then that wall will be loaded.
Have you heard about any like break-ins and stuff as far as like people camping and stuff like that? I was on Mountain Project. I saw a lot of comments about people saying their tents got stolen. And
so where they're getting stolen is where all the bouldering is on the sandstone on 10 Mile Hill.
Okay.
That is a free-for-all. You'll go down there and see paintball wars from the local whatever paintball clubs.
Sure.
You'll go down there and see folks that are living in their RVs permanently. I'm not saying climbers that are living. I'm just saying folks that are living in there, and they'll be there for their 2 weeks. And you're like, wow, that thing looks like it needs to be caught on fire type of, RV setup.
Yeah.
So you're going to have those transient folks moving through. So when there's been break-ins, it's not up in the granite, which is
Okay.
what I wrote about in the article. Divide Road is where the quarry wall is located. That is heavily traveled by hunters and side-by-side drivers, whatever you call them. I don't even know what you call those folks. They just drive around in a car and look out their little car thing.
Yeah.
And that area is so used, there's not any break-ins. The rangers are up there all the time because it's a hunting area way up on Divide Road. It's patrolled a lot, but the break-ins are definitely down lower on the granite. Or sorry, on the sandstone.
Okay. So,
if they are happening at all. I haven't
Sure.
heard of anyone having that happen to them, but certainly the Mountain Project is, gospel. It's truth.
Yeah.
So just take everything there.
I'm glad you recognize. For somebody going to Unoweep for the first time, what piece of advice would you give them?
I mean, the advice is the north side of the road is sunny.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to climb in the sun,
Yeah.
don't go on the north side, although you can find little nooks.
Any places you should start?
Well, it all depends on
What you're into.
grade you're looking at.
Uh-huh. Okay.
There's great 5-9 and under on the north side between Mother's Buttress and Sunday Wall. There's just a slew of them. And then 5, 10, and 11 on those walls, there's tons of them. Tons of cracks.
Yeah.
And then there are fewer, there are sport climbs there. There's some originally put up in the 80s that are just like, wow, this was put up in the 80s. This is nasty. Nasty as in difficult, not as
Sure.
in nasty as in terrible. And so those routes, you're like, wow, this is a 510 crimp route, and I don't even see any holds. I'm literally crimping a key on my keyboard that small. And some people just get so shut down, they're like, well, this place blows. Because again, their ego took a huge hit. Well, take a minute and learn how to climb here, and you'll be fine. So the weekender is going to come and take a beating.
Mm-hmm. I can vouch for that.
In that respect. But someone who climbs there regularly, you learn the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
You learn when to go to that wall. So quarry wall, you can climb it all summer. In the winter, it's ice. I mean, it's freezing cold. The snow will stay there all winter. So I don't touch it in the winter. But there's amazing vertical and overhanging routes there that everyone that I've put on there on the lines are like, I can't believe these are here. I cannot believe this is this good. I cannot believe this sequence is so fun. I cannot believe the gear is so good, or whatever. So
Great.
yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful place. Thank you for sharing it with us in Climbing Magazine and with our audience. I've only been there once, but I'm excited to climb there this weekend. So
Yeah.
gonna
I'll be
take
out
advantage.
on Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
I'm going to go canyoneering tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry, not tomorrow. On Saturday in the swell. And then I'll come back and get a session in the afternoon. I got to play with the kids and do a bunch of stuff in the morning. Sunday.
Nice. Well, I'll probably still be here, so hit me up if you
For
you
sure,
need a
man.
belay.
Oh, yeah. You'll hear me screaming on something that's kind of hard that I haven't finished yet.
So if people want to follow you at all, do you have a website or anything?
I have officially stopped doing my blog. I was really consistent for probably years. I don't know how many. And I don't care anymore. Sorry if anyone
It
did
seems
read
like
it.
everybody stopped caring about their blog.
Well, again, why do I do it? As a pro athlete, they want social media outlet. So I was like, I'll do my blog. And then, I put topos and trip reports on places that I've gone or things that I've established. And right now I've been doing a running streak. I'm literally, since the first day of the year, I've ran every single day of the year.
Nice.
And I'm just doing the whole year, at least 2 miles a day.
Killer.
And I would post my distances, and I ran, and I started off doing all this stuff that was worth reading, or not really even worth reading, but now I just don't care anymore. And it's not even that I don't care, it's more just that is not effective use of my time. But I do have an Instagram account, Rob_Pizem, that my audience is climbers, people who like to train, and then my mom. So you'll see pictures of my kids. You'll see pictures of training stuff, and then you'll see climbs that I've been a part of or my friends have been a part of. So those are the three audiences. And if you can handle that, I'm not a author. I'm not a poet. One of my good friends, Timmy O'Neill, I read his his posts, and they're so eloquent and beautiful and well thought out. And then mine will be a one word. It'll say yes. So you're not going to get any deep quotes out of me because, again, I'm not there to entertain you, but I am there to go ahead and provide my obligated social media outlet.
Well, speaking of those obligations, you're sponsored by Scarpa Camp, correct? Treadwall, I saw, was on there.
Yes, Treadwall, which is actually called Brewers Fitness.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
That's the product, I guess.
Yeah, Treadwall's the product. Brewer Fitness is the business.
Nice.
I work with Sterling, and I work with Rab. This is my first year with Rab.
Cool.
I was with another brand for about 12 years, and I've been with Camp for, I think, since 2003. So we're looking at longer than a lot of people have been climbing with one company.
Yeah.
And I just talked to Vince Anderson, lives out here, who most of you probably won't ever have heard of if you're a new climber, but badass alpinist. And he's been with Patagonia for 25 years, I think, 20 or 25. So there's some legends that live out here, and we keep our mouths shut. So this is the place to be.
Yeah.
The climbing's good. If you want to climb well at the Black Canyon, you come and train in Unoweep.
Has the running been helping your climbing?
Many people have asked. Tom Randall also did a running. I did it for a running challenge that the weather squeaked me out this year, so I'm going to do it next year. It's this giant 80-mile thing with a million peaks to climb. Cool. And Tom Randall from the Wide Boys was doing his training for a big race this year. Or again, he got bouted by weather also. But people have been asking him, how does it transfer to climbing? How does it transfer to climbing? My response is the amount of running he does, or he was doing for his Ultra and Big Mountain Link Up, I believe he did more training than he needed to get the positive effect of running. Whereas running every day at a moderate amount, I've increased my pace over time just because I'm like, okay, I'm wasting my time if I run this slow. My endurance, as far as breathing endurance on the route, is, I want to say, I don't get out of breath climbing at altitude because I'm running so much.
Nice.
So that's a positive.
Yeah.
I don't get out of breath if I go to rifle and climb. My approach is I'm not feeling fatigued when I get to a location. So there's a bunch of benefits. Obviously, it strengthens your core, whatnot. But again, those things, you still have to train finger strength. You still have to climb in order to have your upper body physical endurance and whatnot. You still have to develop power if you need power on routes. But as far as me getting out of breath, my recovery time is extremely quick on routes, and then I can move through and do the next thing that I need to do.
Cool. I think that's it. I think we covered it all. You feel good about that?
Yeah, Kevin, I had fun.
Cool. Thanks. That's it. That's the show. Want to thank Rob Pizem for taking the time to speak with us, and also want to thank our sponsor, Mystery Ranch. You can check out their new ice climbing and climbing pack, the Scepter, at mysteryranch.com. Theme music was provided by Small Houses at smallhouses.band. And if you've not done so already, please make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, subscribe to Basecamp, and leave a rating and review. Well, that's it. See you at the next Basecamp.